no one wants to date trans women. But I think before you sleep, we'll jump in. This was in fact recommended, which is really cool. Like I said, I asked you guys to recommend me some videos that I could react to off screen because, well, I'm still sick. I'm trying to recover. Anyways, we'll go into this. I don't react often to Think Before You Sleep. Most of the reactions that I do to his channel are mostly when it comes to people being overweight. Oddly enough, regardless, we'll jump in. This is going to be very interesting. Also, if you like my opinions, my expertise, please consider liking and subscribing. I appreciate your support. We will jump in. Let's hear it. Let's see what he has to say. To be fair, I agree, by the way. This is very true. This might be a hot take, but most people do not, maybe not no one, but most people don't want to, most men don't want to date trans women because they're simply not attracted to PP. They want family, they want to start families. There's probably many other reasons, even if they had bottom surgery, very likely that it would not feel the same as it should. There's a lot of complications that come with that. You get the idea. Not only that, not even most trans women, in fact, want to date other trans women. Most trans women want to date biological women, which is really interesting, I must say. Really, really interesting. Almost like it's just a show, but again, that is just me. But that is what appears to be the case. Most trans women do not even want to date trans. Do not want to date trans women. So here's that. We'll see though. We'll see.
A lot of people question my sexuality because they think that I'm gay because I'm with a trans woman. Because yes, she originally was a man, but truly in her heart,
buddy, you are gay.
She is a woman, so therefore I feel I am straight.
I've never been less convinced that a guy was straight. You can always tell someone is LARPing because they'll say things that a straight person would never say.
I've never seen a photo of Elena before she was transitioned.
Do you want to?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it because I love you and it doesn't matter. I love it. That is a handsome man. I will put it out there. I can say a man's handsome. I'm comfortable with my sexuality. That is a handsome man. And if I was a girl, I would go for that guy too.
Right. It's
yeah, broski, you're gay. You're gay. You're gay. At best, you like femboys. That, buddy, you are gay.
It's always the guy who's about to do something gay that's like, I'm comfortable with my sexuality. Clearly you aren't because you're pretending to be something that you're not. I mean, it's fine if he's gay. It's current year. Who cares?
I mean, we are already living in the times where, right, you don't want to date a trans woman or any trans person. You're transphobic. You don't want to sleep with the opposite sex. You're homophobic. We already have those. We are in those times, by the way. We already are there. Like, you don't want to draw to, two men making out, already homophobic. We are on that. We are on that level already. We are on this way.
The only thing people have an issue with is those who try to distort reality or just outright lie to everyone to justify their worldview, especially when you do it in front of kids.
This week is Trans Visibility Week. What does it mean to be visible? Yes.
Let's make him invisible again. Nah, just a joke. Generally, I have no issue with trans people. Do what you like, do what you want. I don't care much. However, I will also say I do not agree that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. Simple. If that offends you, that's good for you. Great. I won't acknowledge that. You can still do what you want.
Trans people do exist. Do you have to be trans? No, no one is forcing you to be trans. I'm not forcing you to be trans. Do you have to love trans people? No. It'd be cool if you did, but no, you don't have to.
That's a class of middle schoolers, by the way. A math class, because why would you teach math in a math class when there's gender ideology to preach to an impressionable audience?
Thirsty F Christian
But this guy...
What the fuck?
Obviously has no gender ideology.
Thirsty F Christian Shiro teacher. his male to female fiance, Eden the Doll. That sounds like a corn actor's name, but regardless. Also, what is it? Eden, Lilith, some other weirdly, some way religious connected name. It's really weird. Like, pick something normal like Lisa or Anna or I don't know, Sab, whatever, something normal. He was in the news because he was painting his boy child's nails with nail polish. His male to female fiance, Eden the Doll, and the fake body, fake hair. Eden puts down real women, by the way. I don't want to look like you. Eden is post-surgery, by the way. Then Christian brings his 4-year-old son into this entire mess. Eden's been a playboy. I said Christian is grooming his son, by the way, with the forced Barbie buying, the female clothes, etc. Christian's working at a school as a 7th grade math teacher. Jeez. Not beating the groom allegations.
Theology to preach to an impressionable audience. But this guy obviously has never been on Twitter before, because there are tons of videos there of trans people saying that you have to be in a relationship with them or you're a bad person.
If you're cis and you won't date trans folks, you're transphobe.
I can live with that. I can live with that. But what did Kayla Hammer say? We left you behind. We don't listen to people like you anymore. And it's true. We don't listen like people to this anymore. And it's good that we're starting to stop, because, well, their opinions seem to, be incredibly damaging to society.
Well, I guess this one wasn't even that bad. At least it wasn't one of the ones where they threaten to kill you because you have a different opinion. But for that math teacher to pretend that this isn't one of the most radical groups of people trying to force their ideas onto everyone, especially over the past 5 years, is crazy. Fortunately, fatigue has set in, and people are just...
Especially in the math class. If I was like... If this was happening, if you were talking about trans people in, like, what? Biology? Sure, I guess. Sex education, I guess. But in math? Why? There's no point. Why would you do that?
Done with it. Also, it turns out that despite the first video that I showed, the trans dating scene isn't the greatest. There's a lot of people who are transitioning and finding out that nobody wants them. And this mostly seems to be due to the fact that instead of sticking with people who are interested, they are hell-bent on forcing themselves into other people's spaces. This is why there have been tons of videos of them going around and saying,
They're what's the word? Instead of dating, I guess, people that are interested in them, if that such a thing exists, they're desperately trying to force straight dudes into being with them, and it's weird. It's weird. It's sex pesty. It's grapey, if that's a word you want to use. It's odd. It's weird. Oddly enough, reinforcing the stereotype that men grape. Gladly the feminists didn't pick up on that yet.
no, seriously, it's not gay.
I'm sorry, but as a trans woman, I think straight men need to get behind the idea that dating somebody or being attracted to somebody who is feminine or trans, in my case, does not make you...
If you sleep with a feminine man, you're still gay, buddy. You're still gay. Nothing wrong with that, but don't call it something it is not. I've seen, like, right? I've seen, like, people say, oh, if you, date, if you date, I don't know, somebody from the opposite sex that was formerly, like, if you date somebody who considers himself now a man, or, yeah, as a lesbian, as a man, you're not straight. You're straight. You're not gay, right? Because there is a biological male and a trans man dating, and they're calling it a gay relationship. That's not a gay relationship. Those are on a biological level. People want to now turn sexuality into an identity, is what I'm trying to say in a very convoluted and difficult way. People want to make it like that. Being a lesbian, being gay, being bisexual, even being straight is an identity now. You identify as a lesbian. No, it's a biological thing. It is because you are attracted. Those are attraction to a certain set of genitalia. Lesbians like breasts and vaginas. Gays like wieners. And so far and so on. You cannot make it an identity. Also, just like eradicates, right? If if you can be anything, you are nothing. Get it? Like syndrome, if everyone's super, nobody is. That's why I'm like saying that a man can be a woman is technically incredibly misogynistic. Because if everyone's a woman, then, or can be a woman, then what are even women rights, right? Why do women need special protection? Because everyone can be a woman, so it doesn't matter.
Gay.
I don't think it makes you straight either. That's as generous as I can be. Though you can tell this is an issue because it's not that hard to find video after video of them reassuring you that it's not gay or saying, "Why won't straight men date us?" Here's another one.
Apparently some guys aren't willing to date trans girls, but I just don't understand why. Can you even give me one good reason why someone wouldn't like trans girls?
You have a cock and balls. You have the voice of a man. You can't get pregnant. Worst case, you have an axe wound. Your ideology is self-gluttonizing. You cannot accept anything else but yourself. No.
I had to crop the video because his junk was showing. You're welcome. A lot of these people, if not most of them, have all the male biology, and they're telling you that it's not gay simply because they're saying that they're a woman. So either this is trolling or this person is extremely self-centered and doesn't understand other people. I mean, it could be trolling. A lot of them do use rage bait to promote their OnlyFans. Anyway, outside of the fact that most of these people are nowhere near passing and are basically just a guy with long hair, even the ones that do pass decently don't act like women. I have yet to see one who has. They are either fully just a dude with a wig with no feminine qualities at all, or they're like a caricature of what a guy thinks a woman is, or they act.
Something needs to be said. They don't act like women. They act like women from the perspective of a man. Is basically what it is. They act like sometimes, I'm gonna straight up say it, they act like straight out of a Cord movie. They act like straight out of a Cord movie. Right? It's crazy. Like, they act like they have only seen women in a sexualized manner and nothing else. There's nothing else. Right? That's what I'm saying. Woman is, I've said it in the Altiori reaction. Woman is something that you are. You cannot identify as one. You either are a woman or you're not. You're either born this way or you're not. You're either born a woman or you are born a man. Woman is not a concept. Woman is just a replacement word for female, because every time you could say woman, you could also say female, and the word still, in the sentence, whatever, the context still makes sense. If I say women face higher rates of rape, and I've replaced now women with female, still the same thing. Still the same data. Still makes the same sense. Get out of here.
Like catty gay men. They don't actually understand femininity. Also, they can't have kids. That's a pretty big consideration for a relationship. And no amount of coping or reassuring yourself is going to change reality.
Just so we're abundantly clear, trans women are real women, and trans men are real men. Full stop.
They act like this is such.
Cats are dogs and dogs are cats. If I put cat ears on my dog and remove the dog ears, that's a cat. That's a cat. That's a cat now. Get out of here.
Such an own every time they say it. Well, if it was true, you wouldn't have to keep notifying people because, as they say, any man who must say, "I am the king," is no true king. And for all the female allies who are trying to virtue signal and force others to participate in this, tell her that she's so.
You're participating in your self-destruction. You're participating in your self-destruction, you don't know it. Because if many men started transitioning now, they would push you out of every woman's space. If you consider them true women, they will push you out of sports, competitiveness, science, everything, because they would outperform you. They don't get that. They don't get that. It's self-destructive. What's the word? It's a self-destructive appeal to emotion. You're becoming useful idiots. If you want to genuinely fight for women's rights, stand up against what they're doing here, which is eradicating womanhood.
So beautiful because she looks just like a trans woman, and watch her get pissed. Now, personally, as long as they're adults, I think they can do whatever they want. But don't force it on kids and don't try to bully others.
Agree. Do what you want. Simple. Do what you want. Don't force it on kids. Don't shove it down down everyone's throat. Nobody's running around, for example, and saying, "Yo, look how straight I am. I am straight as hell." Nobody does that. First of all, you're probably not straight. But second of all, nobody's doing that. Then also, obviously, you cannot force people to agree with you. The only thing you can ask for is coexistence, and that's it.
Into participating. In fact, you can't really force anyone to do something they don't actually want to do. If someone is good at convincing people over to their side, like say if I'm good at convincing you, then it's only because I'm able to tell you how what I want gets you what you want. If you don't follow that process, you aren't going to convince anyone of anything. Unless you use violence. Well, maybe that's the point. Maybe the whole movement is intended to radicalize people. Anyway.
If being trans was a choice, why on earth would someone choose to be a woman in a patriarchal world?
Because it's a fucking fetish, Janet! That's what cross-dressing has always been about for these men. They're not some poor, vulnerable people oppressed because they're women born into men's bodies. They're men with fetishes. I get aroused when I have gender euphoria. Is that weird? You can go to any of their forums and listen to the things that they say to each other.
We call that autogynephilia. Regardless, I find this very interesting, right? She makes a great point. There might be people with genuine... I'm not denying that there is gender dysphoria. There is people with genuine gender dysphoria. But truth is that a lot of these men actually are just fetishists. And I feel like, hot take, this is very much linked to Corin. But that's for another day.
When they think that dumbasses like you aren't listening. At best, these are men who see women as a fetish costume and not as human beings. And at worst, they're men who get off on our discomfort when they invade our spaces, watch us undress.
Not only that, here's something. There are privileges that come with being a minority. There are privileges that come with being a minority. Job opportunities, you get treated better by society overall, right? Because offending you may result in unwanted consequences. Let's not deny that transitioning does have very much benefits. You can even, I've heard stories from men who have been guilt-tripped into sleeping with trans women, because they were scared. That does exist, in fact.
Threatening to rape lesbians if they won't suck their girl dicks.
Personally, I think there are certain people who have more honest intentions than others, but also, let's not ignore the elephant in the room, which is that a lot of this is likely caused by porn addiction and early porn exposure. At least...
Damn! Nice. He thinks like me.
On the male side. Again, I don't think it's everybody, but probably a good rule of thumb for being able to tell which ones are the porn addicts is to just look at all the activists who are trying to force-feed gender ideology on everyone.
My pronouns aren't preferred, they are mandatory. Do not purposefully misgender trans people.
If you're this obnoxious, I will purposely misgender you. Also, nose ring theory. They wear that trauma on their nose, I tell you.
You do not get to decide how someone identifies. My pronouns aren't preferred, they are mandatory.
Why do all these people have to sing? But nothing's going to make me want to misgender a person more than saying pronouns are mandatory. Do any of them understand the tiniest amount of human psychology? Bullying seems to be their primary strategy with everything, and the LGB part of the acronym is upset with them too, because not only is bullying horrendous PR for gay people, but also on the...
It is. It's funny, right? This behavior of these radical people, right, has made it so that the acceptance for same-sex marriage has dropped significantly among Gen Z. I wonder why that is. I wonder. Weird.
The dating apps, just like how trans women will not disclose that they are trans on the straight apps, They often will not disclose that they are trans on the gay apps either when they are trying to date lesbians, and they've been trying to use intimidation to get women to date them.
Know you think you've got good reasons, maybe you do. But transphobia's transphobia, and you won't get a pass when we're through. We're human beings, not sex organs, cis lesbians, I'm talking to you.
Ironic. Truly ironic. Can I just say that Think Before You Sleep uses very interesting and pretty pictures for the scenery. Regardless, it's very ironic because sex organs, that is what women seem to you.
Yeah, lesbians don't want them either. It would be nice if the cultural narrative amongst the trans group was to stick to people who want them and stop trying to trick everyone who's outside of that group, but maybe that's too much.
The problem is that a large portion of people do not want them. In fact, not even trans people want trans people. I'm also referring to trans women. That does not seem to be that big of a deal for trans men, but it's a really big deal for trans women. It's also interesting, every time these radical activists happen and there's a problem, right? It's always trans women. It's never trans men. Well, not never, but it's rarely trans. It seems like trans men just want to be left alone and be seen as men. It really does. I feel like there is a large gap between trans men, the behavior, and trans women. And I think trans women are significantly worse than trans. Isn't that weird?
Much to ask of the average Wokey. Now, going back to what that lady was saying about her gender being a fetish costume, I can see how it's off-putting to see tons of people playing pretend and publicly engaging in woman face.
Day one of being a girl, and I have already cried 3 times. I wrote a scathing email that I did not send. And then when someone asked me how I was, I said, I'm fine, when I wasn't fine.
These are the people who will say that
women don't do that. That's man. That's men. The last one, that's men. Also, crying 3 times a day, that's not women. I don't think any woman cries 3 times a day. They have some weird fetishized way of thinking about women. It is so weird.
blackface is offensive. I can also imagine how it's off-putting to watch how many of these people are essentially engaging in stolen valor by pretending to have menstruation cycles and demanding that they get sympathy for something that they don't actually have to experience.
Okay, sweetie, so apparently you're not wanting to
If somebody uses the word sweetie, honey, darling in a conversation, they're trying to demean you. They're trying to put you down. They're not taking you seriously. For real. If somebody uses that in a serious debate, discard their entire opinion. They do not want to argue, engage with you in good faith. That's all I'm gonna say.
understand or listen. I can tell you right now, my period I experience every month is very real, very valid, and very painful. But you know what? You go ahead and keep invalidating trans women. You go ahead and keep telling them that their experience is not real. Because if that makes you feel like a real woman, if that makes you feel so big and important.
If you as a man have period cramps, you have cancer. If you as a man have period cramps, you probably have cancer. What the fuck?
Sweetie, then you go do it.
I mean, if I were a woman, I sure as hell would think the first person who I would want to be lectured by about womanhood is a man in a dress who is pretending to know what a menstrual cycle is like and saying that you have to participate in that or you're a bigot, especially as every mentally ill pink-haired person is calling you slurs and saying that you're evil for not wanting to be called a slur.
Being a cis woman is not an insult. That is one of the stupidest things that I've ever heard in my entire life.
It is. It is. Because cis is used as a slur. It is. Cis is always used in a negative context. Always. Almost always. Essentially always. There is no such thing as a cis woman. Women don't need a label. Women are women. Trans women need a label because they're not women. That's why we put the word trans in front of it.
The only people who have a problem with are people who are ignorant or hateful.
Also, I can see that you're sad about that you're bald because you're coloring your beard, and it doesn't even look good. I can tell you are missing your hair.
And if you're ignorant about it, and someone educates you about it, and you continue to be ignorant about it, then you are just a hateful person. Being cis just means that you are cisgender, which means that you are the gender you were assigned at birth. It just differentiates from trans people. You're a cis woman. Deal with it. Live with it. Be a better human being.
It's a slur, and it's always been used as a slur against people who disagree with trans ideology. Just listen to the vitriol on how they say the word cis-white male. The fact that you say that I'm a bad person for not agreeing with you only proves my point that cis is a slur, because the correct term is normal. So as I said, women are pissed about this.
And I'm gonna say it. Being trans is not normal. It isn't. I can tell you why. It's because, for one, without hormones, you effectively, and without surgery, effectively, there is no trans. If you don't take hormones, in the vast majority of cases, people will recognize that you are a man. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. It's also because it's a mental illness, and it's very clearly a mental illness. Now, mental illnesses are a normal part of life, yes, but normal is what happens in the norm. Being trans is not the norm, therefore not normal, in that sense. Now, gender dysphoria, you could consider that normal, because it is something that happens to humans, and it comes likely due to natural reasons. Yeah, but that's about it.
Not a cis woman, I'm a woman. You say trans women are women, but then women become cis women as if we're a subtype of our own sex. And then you have the audacity to drag the very women that you're trying to emulate. How is that not the most misogynistic, patriarchal logic imaginable? How is it that my identity suddenly just needs a prefix? Why do women have to shift their language, their boundaries, their spaces, so everyone else can feel comfortable except actual woman? If a woman says, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, suddenly she's the problem? I don't need a new label to describe what I've always been.
Right, I'm not cis either, I'm normal. And no one's happy to be around trans activists when they're constantly trying to erase the existence of anyone who's not caught up in their game. Why would you want to be in a relationship with someone who acts like that?
Difference between cis and biological women. Biological women, quote unquote, it's an outdated term. It doesn't...
Outdated? So there is no woman. By that concept, there is no woman. By that concept, you can only go by culture. You can only go by what is culturally accepted as a woman. Which means that if you switch cultures, for example, you go to a country like Oman or Turkey, and you don't fit into the description of what is a woman, then Western women as a whole would not be considered women there. You're just an androgynous blob of that. What the fuck are we talking? Maybe that's the goal. Maybe that is the goal. Maybe they're trying to forcibly make humans into like a androgynous blob, a mass without any meaning behind anything at all. What the fuck are we doing?
Mean much of anything. Biological women puts down trans people.
Denying reality because you're offended is literally the definition of being mentally ill. Also, the LGBT people who are not deranged don't give a shit about any of this. They just want to be left alone. That's what gay rights was originally about. Now gay rights is about demanding people participate in your fetish. Also, shouldn't this guy be on a registry or something?
True. Many gay people, lesbians, bisexuals say they just want to live their normal life. They don't want to be seen as something special. They just want to go about their day. And that's what they want. And that's what they should be able to do. But these people, these radicals, right? There's many trans people who also say like, bro, I just want to be trans. Leave me alone. Most of the time, they probably don't. See, that's the weird part, right? That's a weird part, right? You want to be seen as a woman, but you make it known that everybody knows that you were formerly a man. That is an oxymoron, because you want to be seen as a woman, but you make damn sure that everyone knows you were a biological male. What? What are we doing? Again, what are we doing? But yeah, most people just want to do their thing and move on, and that's totally okay, that they should be able to do that. But these people make it worse for them.
For filming in the women's bathroom with children present? Speaking of registries, considering that these people are so insistent on forcing their way into everyone else's spaces, Another consideration for long-term relationships is, are you safe to have around kids? And from my perspective, there is so much sexually inappropriate behavior from these people that the answer is largely no.
We will not let fear win. A world without trans people has never existed. A world without drag has never existed, and it never will. Queer people have always been here amongst us. Drag is art, drag is culture, drag is educational, drag is creative, drag is comedy, but drag is not a crime.
They're still fighting to do sexually inappropriate drag shows for kids. I don't know why these people haven't been arrested.
I won't change your little town. Your own children will. Your children will see us. Your children will love us. And your children will join us.
I don't think I've seen a clearer...
That sounds creepy as hell. I will keep my children far, far away from you wherever I can, but far away.
...mission of intent to groom kids. How is it that there are so many of these people caught on camera doing stripper dances in front of a very young audience, and none of them go to jail? It's like how they won't give any prison time to the guy who's committed like 80 felonies. There really has been zero punishment for any of these people doing this stuff in front of kids. Well, there has been some momentum on that, I guess. A bill banning medically transitioning kids just passed the House of Representatives. Hopefully it gets signed into law. This should have been done years ago. All this weird stuff around kids has to stop.
I'm a student at Martin Luther King High School, and I run on the cross-country team. So I'm constantly affected by these actions that have taken place this season. And I have been around the females and just my team in general who have felt almost silenced to speak out about it. And it is not okay that I have to be in a position where I'm going to practice and having to see a male in booty shorts and having to see that around me. As a 16-year-old girl, I don't find that as a safe environment. I don't at all. And going into
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that women should feel unsafe in spaces specifically designed for them. It is crazy. It is actually insane, and I'm really glad that this nonsense is ending. That's really good. That's really good, right? Because, bro, no woman will be able to compete against a biological male. No woman. On that level. The strongest man can beat all women. No, wait, we cannot allow that. Ever.
Locker room and seeing males in there. I don't find that safe. I don't find going to the bathroom safe when there's guys in there. It's not okay. I'm a 16-year-old girl. There's girls around me where we do not feel safe having boys in our environment. And it isn't okay. It isn't okay to have them on our team.
Right. It's not okay. These kids are just trying to go to school and live out their lives, and you're trying to force some shit in there that doesn't belong, followed by calling the kids hateful or evil for feeling uncomfortable about something that should make them feel uncomfortable. The whole idea that impressionable kids should have to be regularly taught and exposed to any of this stuff is ridiculous. Also, what a coincidence that LGBT identification has increased around the same time they started force-feeding this stuff into schools. And look at the age...
Because it's a trend. It's because it is a trend. It is absolutely a trend. 100%. There's no denying that. And we're gonna see a massive fallout from this. We're gonna see the consequences of this. It is crazy.
Age group that it's increasing in. Even Hassan Piker's dog isn't shocked by these stats. I mean, dating is already hard enough. Why are you pushing these kids to grow up as sterile adults that very few people will want to be in a long-term relationship with because they can't have kids? Don't the people promoting this stuff go on Reddit? Like, the #1 complaint from the child-free Reddit is that they can't...
I'm gonna straight up say it. 100%. Let's say I meet a woman and she has detransitioned from before and she's sterile. I won't date her. I want to start a family. It's that simple. I think many men are with me on this. I'm also pretty sure most women wouldn't want to date a sterile man. It's just very true. That's the reality of the things.
Can't find long-term relationship partners because they don't want kids. I also find all of this particularly messed up when the cure for most of these kids' gender dysphoria is just letting them go through puberty. Medically transitioning minors should be punishable with life in prison or worse. Not to mention the mental health issues that come along with transitioning.
There's gonna be a huge problem. A lot of the women that say they don't want kids are gonna die alone because most women overall, generally, still want kids. They did like a voter poll, like the most important thing for them. It's funny that most men that voted for Harris in that poll still said they wanted kids as like one of the most important goals. I think it was like number one spot for male Republicans. It was like in the middle for male Democrats, which is really interesting to see.
Another big reason why these people are having trouble finding long-term relationships is because statistically, they have numerous mental health issues that no one wants to deal with, because instead of going to therapy, they took HRT. I have yet to see evidence that gender-affirming care fixes mental health issues, and I think that activists telling these people that a surgery will fix their bipolar disorder or their borderline personality is highly immoral. Really, if you want to fix mental health problems, then you need a team of people around you who will be honest and not enable your pathological behaviors, which is why the whole idea of preaching delusion about how other people feel about things like the dating market and then calling them hateful Nazis for voicing their opinions is only going to make people's mental health worse. Well, as I said earlier, maybe that's the point. But the cruelest thing that you can do to someone who is mentally ill is be dishonest. Many people get stuck in things like
the cruelest thing you could do to somebody who's mentally ill is reinforce the mental illness. Like telling somebody the voices that they hear are real. Like somebody who's schizophrenic. Worst thing you could do.
Addictions for years or decades because nobody will tell them the truth. Like I said, if you're an adult, do what you want. It's your life, but no one should be forced to participate. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, that's the full video. I think that it's incredibly simple, right? I made all my points already. I don't need to re-elaborate. Do as you wish if you are an adult. Don't force anybody to necessarily agree with you. You don't have. Nobody has to. You gotta have to deal with that. Deal with that in life. Live your life. Do your thing. Don't shove it down everybody's throat. Do as you wish, as long as you aren't obnoxious. Don't force it on kids. Don't call it something. Don't call it something it's not. Right. Being as a man into a trans woman is not straight. That's for sure. 100%. Don't try to turn sexuality into an identity. You get the idea. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.